Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the State Convention of the Libertarian Party of Florida. My last formal address was on December 8th, 4 months ago this very night. 4 months without an organized speech, in the middle of a presidential election season. And let me tell you, my friends, it's not for lack of trying. It's not been because we have been taking time off from the campaign or slacking in some regard. No, today is my first formal address in 4 months because I have been blacklisted from coast to coast by organizations, by schools, by private venues. Hostile elements have physically attacked my supporters in these intervening months. They have harassed small businesses in order to have our events canceled. They have threatened mass violence and assassination, and in doing so have had me expelled from Canada. Friendly elements, uncomfortable with the level of hostility, scared by the demonstrated willingness of our enemies to resort to violence, have abandoned the campaign and distanced themselves from us, pulling all support and canceling my scheduled speaking engagements. And in environments such as this, why should the federal government step in to silence me? They don't need to. At this point in our country's history, the First Amendment is not much more than a nice gesture. In reality, the government need not lift a finger to keep the public from hearing our message, because the public itself has such a vested interest in censoring us all on their own. The American public is so invested in this system, in the police state, in two-party politics, the mass media, mindless consumerism, that they will, like all good slaves, do the master's bidding. And like all good slaves, they will do the master's bidding without needing an explicit command. And this is what I want to talk with you about tonight. The difference between a good slave and a hostile slave. Between the slave who loves his safety and the slave who wants to be free. Malcolm X spoke about this several decades ago when he told his people about the difference between the house Negro and the field Negro. He said there were two kinds of slaves, and I quote, "There was the house Negro and the field Negro. The house Negroes, they lived in the house with the master, they dressed pretty good, they ate good because they ate his food, what he left. They lived in the attic or the basement, but still they lived near the master. And they loved their master more than the master loved himself. They would give their life to save the master's house quicker than the master would. The house Negro, if the master said, 'We got a good house here,' the house Negro would say, 'Yeah, we got a good house here.' Whenever the master said 'we,' he said 'we.' That's how you can tell a house Negro. If the master's house caught on fire, the house Negro would fight harder to put the blaze out than the master would. If the master got sick, the house Negro would say, 'What's the matter, boss? We sick?' We sick." He identified himself with his master more than his master identified with himself. And if you came to the house Negro and said, "Let's run away, let's escape, let's separate," the house Negro would look at you and say, "Man, you crazy. What you mean separate? Where is there a better house than this? Where can I wear better clothes than this? Where can I eat better food than this?" The vast majority of our countrymen are house Negroes. Speak to them of seceding from the federal government and they'll say, "Man, you crazy. What you mean separate?" Speak to them of destroying the system, abolishing the Federal Reserve, ending usury, and they'll say, "Where is there a better system than this? Where can I wear better clothes than this? Where can I eat better food than this?" They eat the scraps given to them by the bankers, by the politicians, by the corporate boards, and what they dream of is not freedom, but a seat at the table with the masters. What we want is to overthrow the table. We want to be our own masters, and for this we need the help of our countrymen. But the revolutionary life is a tough sell, brothers and sisters. Who as a little boy sits thinking to himself, "When I grow up, I want to be blacklisted and ostracized. I want to be hated and reviled by my own countrymen. I want hardship and deprivation. I want to wonder where my next meal is coming from or whether the FBI will raid my house today. I want a life of severity. I want to put my life on the line because anything between death and total victory is a compromise and a mediocrity." You try to sell that life to a house slave, and you will meet with great disappointment, I assure you. But Malcolm X spoke of a second sort of slave, the field Negro. He said the Negro in the field caught hell. He said the field Negro was beaten from morning to night. He lived in a shack, in a hut. He wore old cast-off clothes. He hated his master. I say he hated his master. He was intelligent. That house Negro loved his master. But that field Negro, they hated the master. When the house caught fire, he didn't try to put it out. That field Negro prayed for a wind, for a breeze. When the master got sick, the field Negro prayed that he'd die. If someone come to the field Negro and said, let's separate, let's run, he didn't say, where are we going? He said, any place is better than here. You've got field Negroes in America today. I'm a field Negro. I'm a field Negro. Everyone in this room, if you are sitting here listening to a speech from me, you are a field Negro too. We want freedom. When the system soon catches fire, we will pray for a strong wind. When the masters of the system get sick, we will pray that they die. But let me take this one step further than Malcolm ever did. I say that we are the strong wind that will burn down the system. I say that a prayer for death is too good for those who control this system. And that is the difference between a faithless slave and a revolutionary. A revolutionary is a man of action, not of wishes, not of hopes and dreams, not of listless longing for better days in a different master's field. A revolutionary does not pick his cotton in the field while daydreaming of escape. He pulls the overseer off his horse and takes his rifle. He leaves the field and burns down the master's house. Yeah. Now, how do we get to that step, comrades? How do we move past talk, past whispering to each other in our living rooms and blogging on the internet? What sort of political action is necessary to destroy a system marked by a tyrannical federal government, cancerous bureaucracies, faceless enemies, the stranglehold of finance, the stench of slaves being burned and sacrificed to the god of money? I will say what I said last August. What is needed is total insurrection, an uprising in mind, heart, and body. We must break all boundaries and revolt. But of course, the preliminary step is challenging what we have long been brainwashed to believe. For instance, and I will be deliberately extreme here, when a cop draws a firearm on you, you are expected to fall to the ground, put your hands on your head, and wait for him to handcuff you. Even if you have broken no law, even if you pose no threat to the officer, even if you are an innocent bystander, you are expected to bend over and take it. And if you get an apology sometime later, wonderful. But don't hold your breath. And just ask yourself why. Why do we allow cops to put us in handcuffs for no reason? Why do we allow them to run roughshod over us, our communities, our Constitution? Because there are criminals out there, you say. And I agree. A man committing a robbery or shooting up a school should be drawn on. But I'm talking about all of us. We who are not robbing convenience stores or shooting up schools. Why do we allow the police to treat us like criminals? Why do we not draw on them, handcuff them, keep them in our holding cells until we can sort the matter out and determine what the hell they thought they were doing drawing guns on us in the first place? It is because we are conditioned. We are well-trained slaves. If you take nothing else away from what I say tonight, let it be this. You think you are free, but you are only slaves with more subtle chains. And if you think I'm being overdramatic, if you think this is all meaningless hyperbole, then do me a favor and stop paying your taxes. Stop paying your student loans. Try to drive your car here in Florida without insurance. Drive without your seatbelt. Dare to exceed the speed limit. Punch the guy in the face who just insulted your girlfriend. Do these things and see what happens to you. My Scotch-Irish grandfather once fought 10 cops in a bar in Ohio along with my uncle. But that was a different age. Try that today and see how many felonies you rack up in one bar fight. Take it from a lawyer. There are so many laws in this country that you could not comprehend them even if you knew what they were. There are so many laws in this country that you could spend your entire life reading them and you would never finish. Every action you take is regulated by law, and those laws are zealously enforced by cowards with badges who show up in packs and draw guns at the first sign of resistance. So should it be any surprise that we are expected to put our hands up and get to the ground when a cop draws on us? Let me ask you, if the field overseer came out to check on the field Negro's work, and he pulled his rifle and told the field Negro to get on the ground, would they not be expected to drop to the ground and put their hands on their heads? Of course they would. And the same is expected of each and every one of us. The masters, the financiers, the corporate boards, the special interest groups, they pass their laws. And those laws are enforced by the field's overseers, the local police department, the sheriff's office, the FBI, the DEA. And we are expected to follow those laws. And even when we are 100% compliant with those laws, we are still expected to quake in fear and to bow in submission to whatever federal agents and police officers decide to pull a gun on us that day. But I don't know about you, brothers and sisters, but I am sick to death of the masters and of their overseers. I have no love for this system, for their money, for the comfort they provide that the house slaves find it impossible to live without. I don't care for the health insurance, the retirement benefits, the professional discount on a car rental, the frequent flyer miles, celebrity magazines, television with 500 channels, some guy's name on my underwear, or any of the other distractions waved in front of our faces, or any of the other bribes given us by those in power to keep us from lynching them and burning down their houses. So again, we must ask ourselves, what sort of political action is necessary? You find yourself at this moment at a state convention for a major political party, the third largest in the United States, as a matter of fact. Tomorrow, I am co-sponsoring a presidential debate right here at this hotel. Those of you who stay through the weekend will be able to rub elbows with high-level party members and national candidates. You will be hearing speeches and sound clips until the platitudes of the Libertarian movement are dripping out your ears. And soon, you will be able to vote for any number of us in the November election. But, as Bismarck noted, not through speeches and majority decisions will the great questions of the day be decided, but by iron and blood. I sincerely hope that these speeches of mine will wake up our countrymen, and I sincerely hope that we will have a good showing in the election this November. But what is far more important than any election is action. I need you to be strong. Your country, the whole of Western civilization, needs you to be prepared for war. Arm yourselves. Strengthen your bodies. Stop wasting your nights at the bars. Stop living frivolous lives. And brace yourselves for the coming fire, for you will be the wind that spreads the flames. Slaves can afford weakness. A master cannot. So, yes, let us engage with the so-called legitimate political system. Let us do outreach, make phone calls, knock on doors, speak to our legislators and all the rest. Protest, complain on social media, vote, the whole 9 yards. Make friends here at the convention, bury hatchets and shake hands, and help the party grow. But more than this, prepare for the day the system catches fire. And on that day, let your actions speak louder than any speech I have given. Think now about whether you will be a house slave fighting for the government or a field slave fighting for your freedom, your people, your country. Think about the world you want to create and prepare yourselves for it. Prepare. Work and prepare. War is coming.